Hello everybody. Time to do another Frontiers dev stream. Okay, good, you can hear me. Looks like it's going to be nice and low-key today. I don't even think I have a viewer yet. Last time I started around 6 a.m. my time, which turned out to be great for viewership in Europe. But today I'm starting around 9:30 my time. I think it's pretty much the worst time for everyone. So it's going to be a little lonely, at least until I archive this on YouTube. Alright, so I've been seeing reports of some funky behavior with NPCs, and today I'm going to investigate them and try to figure out what's going wrong and fix it if I can figure it out. The main thing I'm hearing about is NPCs dropping every time you look away from them and look back, and this apparently can lead to some clipping problems where NPCs will occasionally sort of drop through the world. It can make it impossible to, carry on conversations. Plus, it's just weird and looks bad. So I've spawned near Oswald's house. It's a good place for a wide variety of mobs. And I'm just trying to recreate the behavior. Oh, I just saw it on the chicken. Yeah, go away, orb. Alright, on the chicken there, when I look away from it and look back, it drops down. So I have an inkling about why this is happening, but I just want to see what it takes to recreate it here. Yeah. Alright, so it doesn't happen on the pigs, apparently. You guys seem like you're fine. But it does happen on the chickens. Alright, let's see if it happens on a person. That's where the problems start to become really severe, apparently. Hey guys. You seem okay. Well, I'm going to look away from them and see how it looks in the editor. They still seem okay. I'll check out the chicken now. Now, what I think is happening is, in order to save cycles, whenever you look away from a creature, and its primary renderer isn't rendering, I take a bunch of shortcuts. I take a bunch of locomotion shortcuts so that I'm not performing a bunch of, expensive raycasts every frame or every couple of frames. And I think these shortcuts are what's sort of popping it up into the sky. And when I look back at the creature and its renderer is active again, the shortcuts are stopping, the regular locomotion is kicking in, and then it's saying, oh, whoops, I'm in the sky, I better drop down with gravity and all that. So I just got to figure out why exactly these shortcuts are producing this weird result. Okay. Okay, I'm looking away. Alright, that does look to be the case, because when I'm rendering it with a scene view, that problem doesn't happen. Yeah, okay. That looks to be what's going on. Alright, so that means we get to dig into some really nasty code. World body would be number 1. Motile will be number 2. And creature body, which I think might just be, yeah, creature body just inherits from world body, and I haven't customized it yet. So that's fine. Okay, looking at world body first, because my intuition tells me this is where it's happening. First, let's see where this renderer is defined, is visible. Okay. On fixed update, if renderer's count is greater than 0, let's check our chicken. Creature body, renderers. Yep, we got a skin mesh renderer in there. If one of the renderers is visible, then the whole thing is counted as visible. Oh, this formatting is terrible. Hold on. Okay. All right. And if it is visible, our rigid body is kinematic only if the owner is kinematic. In the case of the chicken, I don't believe it's kinematic. The owner, I mean. In Frontiers, creatures are separated into 2 parts. You've got the actual world item chicken, which moves around on its own. It's its own entity. And then you have a body, which sort of follows the entity according to some rules. And I kept them separate for networking purposes. So I'm going to try and locate the actual owner of this chicken. Memory serves. We are in the capital district. We're not in Lofgren. Vilgorge. Okay. Chicken den. Creature 0. Okay, here it is. And our Motile script is active. What are you doing, chicken? Oh, these are all the Motile scripts. For a moment, I thought it had multiple like goal orientations, and I was really confused. Okay. It has no goal. La-di-da-di-da. Okay, and it is not kinematic. Okay, and I'm saying if it's visible, I'm setting the animation properties. La-di-da-di-da. I'm refreshing its eyes. Now the body animator. Body animator is pretty simple. It's sort of a wrapper for Mechanim system where I can override these basic animation properties with creature-specific animations. I don't think anything in here is going to affect where its body is on the y-axis, unless maybe it has something to do with root motion. But I don't think that has anything to do with it. So okay. And the last thing is if we're a ragdoll. Okay. Update forces. Use the normal of the ground we're on to determine if we need to add upwards force. Where are we calling that? Not from here, apparently. Okay, we're calling that in motile. In our fixed update function, right? Fixed update is a long function. Motile is one of the more complex scripts in the game. I don't recommend using a generic script for every kind of locomotion in your game. Specialize, specialize. Okay. If we're not immobilized, figure out our world elevation. If we're moving quickly, check more often. Okay, if we're not kinematic. Check terrain height, or movement speed is greater than 0.01. So what I'm doing is, I've got a magic number in there which sucks, but I'm incrementing every fixed update frame, and if it's more than 4 frames, I check the terrain height, and I'm doing that just so I'm not checking it every frame, which would be ludicrous. And that's only if I'm not kinematic, which this chicken is not. Now this chicken, let me check its body right now. The body is kinematic right now. When I look back at it, switching it from kinematic to non-kinematic is working fine. That's as expected. So I just got to find out where that bump comes from in the height. Now the adjusted elevation, you know what I'm going to do? I have all these lovely debug statements everywhere. Tell me debug the body movement. I'm going to turn those on. It's going to get real slow, but I remember these being helpful in the past. It's going to be a lot of information. Okay, is that all of them? All right, we're going to stop this. I'm going to save all of those. I'm going to recompile and I'm going to relaunch. We've been working on our next VR game. The working title is Forge Simulator, but the official title is Ironsong Forge, and it's looking good. I'm really happy with it. I think Ryan's got a solid concept. It's really starting to come together. The spellcasting system that I was working on earlier, which I haven't done an update for in a while, that project kind of got folded into Ironsong Forge. So I'm going to stop working on that specific project the spellcasting for a couple of reasons. First, I've seen spellcasting systems that do roughly what I was hoping to do better than I was doing. So at this point, I don't really want to pursue that particular branch. Second, because it's all of the work that I was doing on that has been folded into Ironsong Forge. You'll see why. And it'll be way more interesting to do dev streams on that game in progress than on, you know, some branch of a system. But yeah, Ironsong's coming along. It's looking good. Got it working with Oculus Touch the other day. The ideal setup with touch would be a room scale setup where you have cameras at like opposing ends of the room and you're just able to sort of move freely, but we were able to create sort of a station mechanic that helps you play it with the sort of 180-degree front-facing setup that Oculus is kind of expecting players to use, where you have a little more fidelity in the hand motion. So I'm glad we got that working nicely with the game. It's really cool. It's fun, forging the swords. I think it's going to be a good game. I could probably do a dev stream of that right after this, come to think of it. I might as well get started on them. We were being a little cagey about it because we didn't know if it was going to happen or not. Oh, chicken, no, don't run. I'm supposed to be testing you. What are you doing? What is this chicken doing? Is it following me? Guys, I think this chicken is following me and I don't know why. What is your problem? It is. It's definitely following me. Okay. Good. Now you're stuck because you're on a slope. Or apparently not. Okay. Alright, I don't know what's up with it. I don't care. Maybe it's because it's nighttime. Well, that's interesting. I'm looking away from it, and it doesn't seem to have the same problem. I wonder if it's related to having a goal or not having a goal. During the day, it had no goal. Okay. Okay, there's the chicken we're looking at. I'm gonna try and look away from it. Yeah, that's interesting. At no time is it saying to use a kinematic body. Alright, well that's information. Is there a bed in here that I can sleep? I'll go to morning. The creatures have different behavior depending on whether it's night or day. These chickens, their behavior is obviously very different during the night. I'm going to sleep until it's day, so hopefully we'll get the same thing we were looking at before I loaded. Okay, sleep. No, it's not my bed, damn it. Do I have a tent? Maybe I can add it. Okay. Well, did I get one or not? I'm trying to... I just want to sleep so I can Could have sworn it said, oh yeah, there it is. Okay. Just gotta unfold it. And I gotta do that outside. Okay. I can play my own game, I swear. Stop pushing my tent, spider. Okay. Sleep till dawn. Here we go. Okay. Now, chickens. Now you should be listless. And you are! Okay. We're back on track. I'm gonna go ahead and save this. List chickens. So we don't have to go through that again. That ordeal. Okay. Can't find variation chicken idle one of animal voice. Okay, that's no problem. Now, my friends, now I should be seeing well, I'm still not seeing the modal props get set to use kinematic body like I was seeing last night. I'm still seeing the same behavior. Oh, is this a case of the inspector messing up? It might be. I just saw some screwed up distortion here. Ugh, I hate not knowing. Okay. I can at least check the chicken body to see if that's being set. It is being set to kinematic on and off again. Okay. So. Let's see what our debug information tells us. I'm going to set debug movement to true on our friend the chicken here, and we will be immediately spammed by a whole bunch of information. Alright, let's pause and take a look at these logs. Alright. World body is visible and setting kinematic false in chicken body. Okay. Motile checking terrain height exterior as expected. Then as we looked away from it, started to see a different set of messages. World body is not visible. Detect collisions? True. Owner use gravity? True. Oh. Okay, so maybe what's happening is I have two different gravity systems. One for when you're using a rigid body, and I just used like normal physics gravity, and one for when things are sort of far away or not being looked at. In that case, I switched to sort of a fake, cheaper gravity. It doesn't use a rigid body. And so I'm flip-flopping between those two in the case of the chicken. Because if, like, let's say it's falling, it's in the middle of falling off a cliff or something, and I look away from it, I don't want it to just stay in midair. But I also don't want to be using a rigid body on anything I'm not looking at or which isn't important. So, I kick in the fake gravity, it continues to fall, roughly the same rate, and then when I look back, it'll pick up where it left off. I'll bet that's what's screwing it up, because the falling gravity isn't, like the fake gravity isn't perfect. Okay. and it stopped checking the terrain height here. Oh no, it's still checking the terrain height. Why would it do that? If the body is kinematic, why isn't the chicken itself kinematic? Let's go to debug mode and see. Use gravity. This is true. Use kinematic body is not true. Oh yeah, well this is going to be a nightmare to sift through. My comment says making this super clear. Okay, if we're not initialized, we're not enabled, or we're immobiled, we are kinematic. If we hover, like an orb or a bird, we are kinematic. If we use a kinematic body, we're kinematic. Or if we are not active, we're kinematic. Otherwise, we do not use a kinematic body. So all of those are not the case with the chicken right now in motile. I guess that makes sense. All right, let's figure out gravity. Update falling. Okay, now it appears I've disabled the falling functions here at some point in the past, unremembered by me. Update falling hovering. Okay, this might be where it's happening. Maybe I'm not updating the falling at all, and as a result, we're getting that weird bump. I'm going to test something here. I'm going to move our creature, not the body, but the creature, way up into the air. And then I'm going to see if it falls while we're not looking at it. Would you look at that? It just stays up in the air. So the scenario I just described where you look away from a falling object, it's not happening because I've disabled it. So this isn't a case where the fake falling function is just offsetting things or something. Yeah, there it goes. Okay, well, maybe I just need to re-enable these. I disabled them for a reason. I'm not sure why. We'll probably find out in a moment. Okay, so let's go through my logic here. If we hover, then we don't deal with falling. That makes sense. Okay, if we weren't grounded before and we're grounded now, we stop falling. And whether we're grounded is determined by us checking the terrain height and our distance from the terrain. So we're checking terrain hit is grounded. That makes sense. If we're not grounded, we update falling. And if we weren't grounded last frame and we're not grounded this frame, we start falling. Okay. That all makes sense to me. Now let's take a look at these functions. Stop falling. And I've got debug movement in here. That's good. Okay. To do, use last grounded height to apply damage if applicable. We're not going to worry about that. Is grounded is true once we stop falling. Okay. Last grounded terrain height. Okay, we're basically we're setting is grounded to true and then we're storing some details. Start falling is grounded as false, and then we're storing some details. That's fine. Update falling. I'm passing it this is kinematic boolean, and I don't use it anywhere. I wonder why I'm doing that. Oh, we'll figure out in a minute. Okay, fall acceleration. Yeah, this is just us applying our fake gravity. It's not very sophisticated. We update our position manually. Interesting. Okay. And then we mark our last fall update time. Okay, this all looks pretty straightforward to me. I'm going to save all that. Re-enabled. We re-enabled the cheap falling functions. Let's see what happens. Hopefully it's good. Hello. I was just saying it's going to be a slow dev stream because this is probably the worst time for pretty much anybody in any region. But good to see you, Ultima Nerd. Oh, I just saw myself. Yeah, if anybody, you or anybody else wants to try and follow what I'm doing, follow my logic, there's the Motile script on GitHub. Okay, now I'm racking my brain trying to figure out why did I disable the cheap falling? And the only thing I can think of is that it was buggy. Presumably buggier than having these characters sort of drop out of the air every time you turn away from them. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I wonder, it might have been because of underground or interior issues. Like characters were falling through floors or something inside of it. This is kind of coming back to me. Underground has always been like a tricky thing because I'm turning off all the above ground colliders and turning on all the below ground colliders, and a lot of bad things can happen in that process. So I wonder if I disabled the gravity altogether so I wouldn't have to check whether there was actually something under its feet. Okay, this is coming back to me now, because what would happen was NPCs would fall through the terrain during the underground transition before they'd had a chance to sort of be informed that no, there is no terrain under you right now, and that doesn't mean you're falling. Okay, so I have a feeling I just opened up a can of worms here. Alright. Now what are you doing? Go back to being listless. You're supposed to be listless. Why do you have goals? Let's see how our characters are doing. I wonder if they're gonna appear in the middle of the floor. No, they did alright. Alright. This guy looks like he has no goal at the moment. He's not chasing anything or doing anything. Okay, I'm not seeing him. Not seeing him drop. I'm doing about the 4th iteration of Character Sprite in my 2D RPG. Ooh, 2D RPG. Any details you want to share? Okay. Have you told me about this 2D RPG before? It's kind of ringing a bell, but a lot of people share their projects, so they tend to get a little mixed up. Alright, we're swapping between using gravity and being kinematic, and we're not seeing the drop anymore. Now, I'm going to enable debugging movement on this body. Okay, so far no surprises. Now, I'm going to move the chicken up like I did before. And this time, it should fall, whether I'm looking at it or not. Update falling in modal. Kinematic false. See where it ended up without looking at it. Nowhere at all. Well, that's peculiar. Oh no, there it goes. I just didn't give it enough time, I suppose. Okay, now it reached the ground. And it did all that without the aid of gravity. Oh, now would you look at that? No, be listless. Oh, these damn chickens. Alright, I'm gonna do this with the pigs. I'm done with the chickens. Let me make sure its body debugging is off. I don't want to get spammed. Okay, chicken body. Do not debug movement, thank you. Okay, now after seeing it fall with our fake gravity, I looked back over at it and gravity kicked back in, real, like, rigid body gravity. And it started falling from roughly the height it was at before it started falling with the fake gravity. So I'm wondering if I'm setting its position wrong or something, or I'm storing its position at the start of falling and then loading that position again once I start falling with rigid body gravity. I don't know, but I still haven't fixed it just by turning on those functions, evidently. Right now, it's most likely going to be a Pokemon fan game with lots of features I've always known it from other RPGs, like an actual story affected by your choices. I don't think I've mentioned it before. Last project I mentioned is probably Steel Godot, which is a little puzzle game I made to learn Godot engine. I do remember that one. And no, I haven't heard about them. I haven't heard about this RPG. It sounds fun though. Sounds like it could be cool. Nice small scope. It's always good. Presumably, I mean, if you're taking Pokemon as an inspiration and just adding more consequence to the choices, then that sounds like a nice manageable scope. Okay, pigs. Pig den. Alright, so I'm going to move this pig up into the sky. I'm looking at him at the moment. Why is the pig body not following him? Oh, the modal is slowly adjusting to the position of the body. It's sort of a tug of war between the body and the modal. Right, okay. That's interesting. Alright, I'm going to try it again while I'm not looking at it. Okay, it's falling, 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 and the modal body is lagging way behind. Oh, this is so frustrating. I'm an idiot. I keep forgetting that that viewing something in the scene editor is the same as viewing it in the game editor. So even if I'm looking away from it, it'll still count as being visible. I hate that. I always think of this scene as, you know, being different when it comes to renderers because it's the editor scene, but it's not. I'm screwing up our test here. We're not getting good results. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to move it again, and we're just going to look at the Y position. Okay, move it way up. Okay, we're definitely not looking at it. World body is not visible, and it's still falling, and then it eventually dropped to the position we expected. 1.24. Okay. So, I'm going to turn around. What we should see is the pig turn back on to regular old using gravity non-kinematic mode in its body, and it should be right where we expect it to be on the ground. No. Okay, that didn't happen. So the bug does not have to do with falling, apparently, because we fell as expected. The Godot engine, I'm trying to remember if that's the one that I recommended to Ryan. I've been pushing an engine on him, trying to get him into it. I can't remember if it was Godot or something else. I think it must have been Godot, because that's the one that's really strong with 2D stuff, right? Like tile sets and... Ryan's really big into 2D, you know, pixel art, stuff like that. I know he wants to make a sort of one of those old school, oh, what do you call them? Not roguelikes, but sort of maze RPG. I'm totally using the wrong term. But anyway, I've been trying to get him into a particular engine for a while, and I think it's Godot, but I can't remember if it's that or another one that's more of a direct competitor to Unity's 2D features. Yeah. All right. So testing this is a little bit complicated by the fact that we can't just look at what it's doing in the scene editor and like actually see what it's doing when it pops back into place like that. Just looking through the logs here and seeing if I see a stop falling. Okay, don't. So I'm gonna do this again. I'm gonna perform the same experiment again. We're looking away from it, are we? No, we're not. Let's look away from the pig. Okay, world body is not visible. We're gonna move this guy all the way up to like 2.5. So now let's move it even further. He's well up in the air. Start falling in modal, good, because it checked the terrain height and found that we were way above it. Update falling. Still falling, still falling, still falling, stop falling. Okay. Now it stopped falling. The game is paused. I'm gonna see where it's at. Okay. It stopped falling there. Now that's peculiar. So, when I turn around and look at it, it drops. Okay, now I'm gonna look away from it again while it's paused. I'm gonna look at it here. Okay. It doesn't drop because it was already on the ground. Okay. So when it falls using our fake method, it stops prematurely for some reason. And we call stop falling when our terrain hit is grounded. So we're getting our terrain height at in-game position. Now that function is very accurate. I use that for everything. So I know that's not going to have an offset. When I mentioned it a while ago, I'm pretty sure you said you've been recommending it. It's a great engine so far, and it's had significant improvements just in the time I've been using it. Praise open source. Gotta go. See you later, Lars. Thanks for dropping in. Good luck with your tile set. Yeah, okay, so the one I was thinking of was Godot. And yeah, it does look really cool. And definitely praise open source. Always a good thing. Okay, now here's another little bit of code I've commented out with no explanation. If we hover, update our adjusted Y position over time to ease into our hover height. Otherwise, make sure that we continue to step up or down by this amount. Okay. If we can't, then we need to change direction. Oh, so this is about checking to see if we're able to reach our goal or not. Okay, not important. And I set the last grounded height to the adjusted Y position, which should I do that? See, I am getting the adjusted Y position before doing all this falling business. So that should work fine. I set the adjusted Y position. So when I call stop falling and I set our last grounded height to the adjusted Y position, but where am I using the last grounded height? Oh, this is so confusing. All right, I'm gonna perform a little experiment again. We're gonna let it fall while we're not looking at it. Fall, fall, fall. We're gonna see what its adjusted, what its last grounded height is once it's done falling. Last grounded height is 55.52. Okay, now we're going to look at it and see if that last grounded height changes. Just a little bit, but not by the amount that we're seeing it drop. We're just by minute amounts that can be explained by the, variations in terrain elevation. Okay, I'm going to try this again. I'm going to move you up, up, up. You're going to drop. Okay, there you are. Why would you consider that enough? Why is that okay? Why is that ground height to you? Apparently our last grounded height is accurate. And our world body is dumb. It's just doing what the modal is doing. I'm going to turn around, you drop by almost a full point. Now, I wonder, is this the grounded height? Could that be it? Grounded height is 0.5. All right, I'm going to reduce the grounded height to 0.01. That might be a little extreme, but that's just what I'm going to do. We're going to try this experiment again. I'm going to move you up. Okay, you should be dropping now. All right, let's see where you stopped. Okay, it wasn't the grounded height. We're still almost a full unit above the ground when we stop falling and we consider this the ground. All right, in update falling, this and Ragdoll are the only two places where we update our positions manually because the RVO controller isn't doing it for us. MTR position equals in position. Don't bother with rotation. I'm not updating the position in stop falling, am I? No, I'm not. But that shouldn't be enough for a 1 unit difference between the ground. Yeah, it thinks we're grounded. It thinks our feet position is there. Oh, look at that. The grounded height is set to 1. Let's change this grounded height to 0.1. Let's see what happens. Oh, that's less. Let's change it to 0.5. See what happens. Oops. Oh, we can't have the scene view visible. Okay. All right, I'm going to turn around and look, and the pig should fall just a tiny little bit. Yeah, look at that. All right, I'm going to try that again. We're going to set this height to about 3. Let it fall. Fall, 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 fall. Okay, let's take a look where it ended up. That is so much more reasonable. Look at that. Okay, so it looks like we have a bug where the struct terrain hit that I'm passing to the get terrain height function, its grounded height is not being set correctly. I'm setting it to the max of default character grounded height, or the state modal props grounded height, times 2. Now, why would I do that? What am I doing? The default character grounded height is 0.5. Multiplying that by 2 gives me 1. I don't know why I would do that. Instead of doing that, I'm going to assume that solved a problem that's no longer a problem, because it's obvious that setting it to a much lower height, I mean, at least works in this particular case. So I'm going to comment that out and just set it to the grounded height of the modal props, which are set in here in these templates. For instance, let's look at our pig. Grounded height is 0.5. I am going to set the grounded height to 0.05. On that, I'm going to save our creature templates. I have a feeling that all of these grounded heights are a little bit too big. Let's just look here real quick. Grounded height 0.1. Okay, so no, it's not too bad actually. Modal template grounded height 1. Okay, that's ridiculous. I'm going to set you to 0.05. I'm not going to do all of these right now, but I'll just get the few that we're actually looking at in this scene. Okay, save that. I think we might have found it, guys. I think we might have found it. A little anxious about shutting off this. I'm sure this solved some problem at some point. And it may crop up again now that I've disabled it, but at least we won't have creatures and characters, you know, falling from 1 or 2 units above the ground every time you look at them. Anti-human, hello. Just getting here, not sure if you've been asked. What are your feelings of No Man's Sky? I'm digging it so far. Wonder whether you've been playing it or have intentions to. What's up, Lars? How's it going? Good to see you. Good to see you both. What are my feelings of No Man's Sky? What's the guy's name? Is it Greg, the main developer? I feel endless sympathy for Greg, and I'm also kind of shocked that they let themselves get into this situation. I haven't played it yet. I do want to play it, but not for $60. You know, I have a games budget. Yeah, it looks fun. Yeah, honestly, it looks kind of like what Frontiers way back was originally going to be. Um, I mean, okay, let me be clear. I did not intend for Frontiers to be an infinite universe or whatever. I'm talking about on the planet. Um, Once you're on the planet, that's exactly the kind of thing I originally wanted Frontiers to be. Wandering around, seeing weird creatures, um, chopping down procedurally generated sources of, like resources and things like that. There was a periodic table, blah, blah, blah. So seeing all those elements makes me very happy because I feel like I can sort of play the game that I originally wanted to make that morphed into what I'm making now. But as for all the hoopla, I just stumbled across a Reddit post the other day, yesterday or the day before, I can't remember, detailing all of the things that were promised in the game, but which were cut out or scaled back without any mention in the press. And the list was really long. Boy, have I crashed here. I think I've crashed. We'll just fix this so that we're at least loading the game while I'm talking. Yeah, and part of the problem with the way this whole thing was handled ties directly into the issues I'm having with Frontiers and with the Kickstarter that I detailed in my November update, the 5-part update, where I talked about how games are organic and you have to be able to cut and rearrange and change and rip out whole sections of it in order to make it function. And if you've promised all of this stuff up front, then you take that freedom away from yourself, and you're just going to disappoint people, and so on and so forth. And that's exactly what they did. They promised all these features, and then they did not communicate to people that they had been forced to remove them to balance the game or make it playable and stuff. And just reading the feature list, like I don't really know what happened, but just reading the feature list, all these red flags started going off. Like, yeah, I can see how that would totally, like if they hadn't removed that, the game would basically be unplayable for 90% of the people who started up on day one. They would be dropped into a planet that was totally inhospitable, and you'd basically have to play 10 games in a row just to get a planet that you could take off from, because balance in a procedural world like that is almost impossible. So they sort of sandblasted everything down. And again, this is just speculation, but it looks to me like they sandblasted everything down, homogenized everything, made it way easier to go to a planet, get what you need, and then leave, in the interest of making the game not a total clusterfuck that 90% of people can't play on day one. I don't know if that was a good move or not. I mean, I'll take a playable game over an unplayable mess any day, but I know that not telling anyone what they were doing was a terrible move. I've been calling it Frontiers in Space. Yeah, they concentrated too much on the generating feature of the game. They invested everything in making a big, diverse universe, but they lacked in storytelling and gameplay. Well, I mean, they ended up pleasing nobody. Again, I haven't played it, and I've only been following it just a little bit. I haven't been zoned in on it, following every development. But if they had stuck to, they should have done one or the other. They should have made the gameplay really compelling and really focused on generating terrain and creatures and resources that made for a really compelling gameplay experience, or they should have focused on the exploration aspects and just put in like a bare bones survival system that you know was punishing enough to offer challenge, and which actually, you know what, they could have just made it almost impossible to play, and people still would have loved it because of the exploration aspect. If they'd stuck to their guns and really made the universe weird and really varied, it wouldn't matter how hard it was to play because people would find ways to get to these worlds. Um, and they would deal with no-win scenarios, and they would accept that, okay, well, I've been spawned on a very strange world that has no resources, and I just can't win in this situation. Um, they would have dealt with all that and been happy to because there would have been things out there to explore. When they homogenized everything, and on top of that, had sort of plain vanilla gameplay, it sounds like they've made almost nobody happy. Um, Nobody who was paying attention to the game anyway. I'm sure there are people who are stumbling across it going, hey, this looks neat, and getting exactly what you can get out of the game without any preconceived notions. Um, but as for anyone that they sold on the game, I think their solution was just, it was the worst possible thing, and it was exacerbated by the fact that they weren't talking to people. They should have been. I mean, they're so talkative, and yet they didn't say, "Oh yeah, we cut this, we cut that, we had to scale back on this, we had to scale back on that," and you know, people would have listened. I don't know. I would have handled it so much differently. But you know what? I'll give them props for getting the thing done. They released the thing, and that's not sarcasm. Um, that's not nothing. I will take a scaled back, functional. I know the PC port was a mess, but that's a separate issue. I'll take a scaled back, functional, like balanced enough to play um, game that's actually released over nothing any day. I mean, look at what's happening with Star Citizen. I mean, they're not scaling back at all, and um, they're basically in my position, even though they could choose not to be. They have more freedom than I do, and they're not taking advantage of that freedom. They're still sticking to their guns and saying, nope, we're going to include all of it. Um, yeah, I would take No Man's Sky over that situation any day. All right, well, I don't see Mr. Piggy freaking out here. I'm pretty sure they wanted to focus on exploration, but it blew up once they showed the first trailer, and Sony probably wanted them to make it more mainstream by including survival mechanics. When you listen to Sean, that's right, not Greg. Sean Murray in an interview, it's really clear exploration is what he cares about and what he wants the game to be about. I have a feeling Sony had a lot to do with progression to development when they took them under their wing. Proves that big companies could easily ruin an original idea from indie developers. I'm actually not so keen on blaming Sony. And again, none of us knows what's going on. This is all speculation. But I have a feeling Sony didn't meddle too much, except perhaps with a release date. I would not be surprised if they said, "Look, you've got to release this, roughly on the day you promised." That would not surprise me. But I don't. My gut tells me, I have no other evidence to offer. My gut tells me that they didn't make any ultimatums about gameplay. That at most they made ultimatums about schedule, and it was left to the developers to determine what that meant for gameplay. And you might say, well, that's the same as making ultimatums about gameplay, and that's kind of a fair argument. But to me, that's different than Sony walking in and saying, okay, we got to sell 1 million copies of this thing. You now need to add survival mechanics so that we can accomplish our sales goals. To me, that's different. And the thing is, I have watched a couple of interviews with Sean, and a lot of this is probably projection, just because I see parallels between our situations, and so there's like sympathy there. Um, so again, I have no evidence that this is actually what he's thinking. But to me, when I hear him talk about this game, it it reminds me so much of me talking about Frontiers in the early days, especially during the Kickstarter, when people would ask questions like, "Will there be this? Will there be that?" And I would just casually toss out that yes, there will be this because I was 2/3 through implementing something, and it roughly worked. And did I just see that pig drop a little bit? I think I did. It roughly worked, and I had every confidence that it would work once the final game was completed. Um, and so I was not speaking from a place of arrogance, or I certainly wasn't lying the way some people are accusing him of doing. I don't think he was lying when he said, "Oh, sure, there'll be multiplayer," or sure, I'll be able to steal ships from other creatures or whatever. I just don't think that's what he was doing. I think that they had those features partially implemented, just like I did. And then when it came right down to it, taking it, past that 80 or 90% mark would have put them 3 or 4 years into the future, and they said, "Screw it, we're going to cut it." Um, and yeah, so I don't attribute it to Sony. Um, I don't attribute it to dishonesty. I just think they got in over their heads. They thought they knew what they were doing, and then they ended up in a bad spot at the end. And again, the difference between the way they handled it and the way I would have handled it was that I would have explained what was happening a lot sooner. They still haven't really explained. The multiplayer thing is where things get really iffy, where they won't just straight up say that there's no multiplayer, that you can't see other players. To me that's really the only thing where I feel like they've lost their way and they really need to come clean. Um, but again, I guarantee there's code in there um, that's at least part of the way there that would allow that to happen, and maybe they even thought they'd get it out by the first day patch. I don't know. He was just very ambitious. Sometimes ambition can be a trap. Yeah, tell me about it. Out of interest, what would you roughly say you're at percentage-wise with Frontiers? Been watching your dev streams for ages, but I don't want to play it before it's done. Oh, I don't know. Um, that's too hard to answer if you're asking about the whole game. If you're talking about individual aspects of the game, I can give way more straightforward answers. Like, um, I'm 90% done with the terrain. All I'm doing with terrain now is when I put down new structures, I'm sort of molding the terrain around the structure, and that's it. Um, I'm 95% done with artwork and assets. I'm not going to be developing these structure assets any further than I am, and there's only a few structures that need more art assets to be completed. I'm like 80% done with structures in general, like building the actual structures. It's like I can give these percentages. I suppose if you asked me all of them, I could add them all up and sort of give an average. But then what does that percentage mean? You know what I mean? Like if I'm 90% of the way there, and it could still take me another 6 months to get that 10% finished. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's why I'm never doing a game like this again, ever. Never, ever. I'm sticking to games like Euclidean and Forge Simulator, where when I say I'm 20% of the way through, that means something. I can count how long it's going to take in terms of months instead of years. There's no candles being spawned sideways on the table. Yeah, there are remnants of MP in No Man's Sky. Lots of leftovers in the files. That's what I've heard. I've heard that people, they're sort of picking through the code and the assets and seeing stuff, um, bits and pieces that were definitely cut. Sounds like you're coming along really well. Don't stress about the average percentage. Um, I mean, yeah, it's coming along. It's not vaporware. It's not pie in the sky stuff. I can play the thing. So that is something. The fact that I'm loading it up right now, I'm going through, I'm not working out how to put characters in the game. I'm working out how to keep characters from sort of falling funny. That's the kind of stuff I'm dealing with. So yeah, we're doing okay. I feel like I'm better off than Star Citizen right now. I mean, I would love their money, but I would not want to be on that team right now. I can't imagine the stress that they're feeling. Star Citizen is like my nightmare. Just thinking about being on that team and dealing with that level of stress and that to-do list is my nightmare. Talk about stress. Have you ever had in your mind an idea strip the game or something, shrinking the universe just so you can have a good final product? Oh yeah. Well, remember I talked about if I was going to take that approach, if this was a game that I developed on my own without doing a Kickstarter for it, and this is where, again, I think No Man's Sky screwed themselves because they basically sold the game like they were running a Kickstarter. They were going for pre-sales, which pre-sales are I'm over pre-sales. I used to be kind of lukewarm on them, but in the past couple of years, I've decided no, I'm never going to pre-order anything. I'm never going to do pre-orders on my games. It's just the wrong way to do it because you got to sell a product before it's done, and at that point, you're kind of running a Kickstarter. And when you run a Kickstarter, you're promising features, you're selling people on those features, and then you can't cut them without breaking faith, without breaking trust. So if I had developed this game on my own, without ever doing a Kickstarter, without ever promising features, I would have cut this thing to the bone. Like I said, it would probably be a visual novel, like something at that level. Maybe a 3D visual novel, but way less than an RPG. So yeah, I've thought about it a lot. But because I sold it before it was done, and because people paid for that list of features, I've just got to take it to the end. And if it's rougher in the end for that reason, that's just how it's got to be. There's nothing I can do at this point. Without breaking trust, which is what I don't want to do. That's more important to me, ultimately, than delivering a perfect game. I want to deliver the features that I promised. If something is technically not feasible, if it literally can't be done, then that's one thing. But to choose to cut features that I promised just because I don't feel like finishing it, or because I feel like it's going to take a long time, that's different. I don't feel like that's options available to me. And that's what pisses me off about No Man's Sky is they had that ability. They could have said, hey, we're not going to do pre-orders. We're going to get you all hyped about this game, but we're going to leave open the option for ourselves to change this stuff and cut features mercilessly, do what it takes to make the game solid. And then once the game is out, everyone can read the reviews and see if it's what they hoped for all along. And if it's not, no harm, no foul. It's all good. But they didn't do that. Well, for all it's worth, Frontiers is something I'm really looking forward to because of what it is. If it was a visual novel, I'd never play it. Right, exactly, that's the thing. And most of the people on Kickstarter wouldn't have pledged for it if it was a visual novel. They would have just passed it on by. So that's why I'm not going to go that route. It's going to take a long time, and I'm going to have to work on it in parallel with other projects to keep the money flowing, but I'm just going to chip away at it. and finish it. In my last update, I said I want to finish it by Christmas, and even in the comments, people were like, "Yeah, sure you do." But that was, I mean, I understand that that's kind of a ridiculous deadline, but I am gonna try. Like, I mean, I'm laughing to myself even as I say it. I guess maybe I feel the same way as the commenters do, like, ha ha. But I don't know. I feel like a nice close deadline like that'll give me some focus. It'll at least push me toward the deadline, if not over it. And Christmas is still a little while away. I've still got time to wrap some of this stuff up. Okay, I've been kind of wandering around talking about No Man's Sky for a while. I think I'm going to call it a day on this dev stream. I still saw the pig drop a little bit, but not from a height of 1. And as I've been going around looking at these NPCs, I'm not seeing the same problem with them. So I'm going to call that bug fixed until I see it cause problems again, maybe underground. Okay. Pretty productive session. Honestly, if you had Star Citizen money, I guarantee your game would be a game changer in the RPG genre. It could still be, but we have to wait for it a bit more. If I had Star Citizen money, we all dream about having money, don't we? I think, okay, here's what I think. If I had Star Citizen money now, it would be a game changer. Because now I'd know what I was getting into and I would spend it very wisely. If I'd had Star Citizen money at the start, I would be Star Citizen. You know, I would be in this position I'm in right now, only way worse because the money could have dug a far deeper hole that I'd have to climb out of. The Star Citizen guys, you know, I can't say I would have done anything differently if I was in their situation. I think I would have dug myself into the same exact hole because that's what I did with far less money. But yeah, right now I would kill for that amount of money, and I think I would accomplish a lot with it. So we'll see. All I say seems to come out wrong today. I wanted to be positive. Now put more. Oh, you are being positive. No, you guys are being cool. I'm putting pressure on myself. Don't worry about that. No. That's just me all day. Speaking of pressure, I'm gonna hop right on over to Forge Simulator. Excuse me, Ironsong Forge. Still haven't dropped the working title. The question is, am I going to do this on live stream, or am I just gonna hunker down and just work on it? I think I might want to hunker down today. I'm working on a new feature, and it's going to require a lot of concentration. Okay, close. What's the problem here? Yeah, okay. All right, good stream. Good talking to you guys. Man, this No Man's Sky stuff has been... the drama's been fun to watch. I'm glad I'm not a part of it. Maybe by the next time I do a dev stream, it'll all have shaken down and like some real answers will have come out of the company. We'll see. All right, until then, catch you later. Bye.